All right, I just hit record.
Wait a second. Let me grab coffee.
All right, we're recording. Hello, everybody.
Great.
Happy Thursday. I am excited because today we have our second guest, Megan Block. Megan is the founder of Wicked Good Mom Media. I'm sure many of you probably know it from Boston Moms, Rhode Island Moms, Cape Cod Moms. She's a very successful entrepreneur, and she recently actually sold those platforms and is now the head of marketing for Entreprenista. She's a brand new gig that she's going to tell us a little bit about. Megan and I have known each other for a few years now. Funny enough, met when I stumbled upon one of her events with my kids and was a hot mess on a hot summer afternoon. I somehow talked her into not only being friends with me, but luckily working with us. So we've had a fun ride in the last couple of years and are very excited to welcome you on today, Megan. Thank you for joining us.
I am so happy to be here. This was a very easy yes for me. So thank you for thinking of me and having me on.
Even last minute, right?
Yeah, that's how we operate, though. You know, we're always firing at all cylinders.
Megan got a text, I think, less than 48 hours ago saying, can you please join us as our guest?
I feel like Jenna and I are very much soul sisters. I tell her this all the time, and I believe so much in what you guys are doing in your business, and I'm excited to dive in. Give me whatever you got.
Well, I was going to say, so you are, among many things, let's start there. Social media is just like second nature to you. You just understand it better than most, let's say. You successfully created, launched, nurtured several different media properties that were all really hinged upon the social media aspect of it. And you are able to transcend the online world to the IRL world, which is really fascinating. So before I jump into a slew of questions for you, tell us a little bit about your background and then also when you realized that social would be such a primary driver for your properties.
So I am like a born connector. That's the thing. I'm a firstborn daughter, granddaughter, niece, all of the things. And like bringing people together has always been, I don't know if I'd call it a talent, but something that is like so like a part of me. It's what I do. Like creating community is just like a huge part of who I am. And I think I discovered pretty early on in my career in general that the community was online. And in order to grow any sort of business, you really have to find where your people are and meet them there. My business we were creating content specifically for mothers and trying to make moms feel seen, heard, and celebrated. And we had to meet moms where they were, which is oftentimes scrolling in the middle of the night or looking for community online. And so we created really a social first business to be able to meet them there. There's moms in early motherhood specifically, and then also in moms who are, multi-hyphenate, they're working, they're doing other things. They don't have a lot of time to connect outside of motherhood and work, but they do make time for social media. So that's where I knew it was going to be really important. And I think what I've learned over the last honestly 10 years is that every brand, every business needs to have a social footprint because it's one of the legitimizing factors in businesses. And it's one of the places where you can really be more real and create a story around your brand, which we can talk about.
Well, it's fun. And I'm going to go, off sideways for a second. But when you say that in our space, in the PR space, when social first started to kind of become more of a thing, and we saw our clients wanting to kind of tiptoe into it, it was all very curated content.
Mm-hmm.
The brands were putting out very curated content. I mean, sometimes an individual post would take 2 weeks to get approved. Very, very curated. And what we're seeing in the last several years is that brands have really caught on to the authentic nature of content, and real-time posts are really what get true engagement and also brand loyalists. I feel like when you are doing such curated content, and it makes sense in certain instances, but in other cases, when you do it like that, you're not getting those like followers and the interactions and the engagements that you're looking for.
Yeah, connection is huge. I think there is a sweet spot that I think only a handful of people do well. And I think you can be very real. Like I would show up and still show up, like no makeup in my pajamas, showing our business followers or now my personal followers what my real life looks like. but I do make it palatable or beautiful. So I think there is something there. And with brands, I think like being so for real and like really getting into the nitty gritty, like people want to see the behind the scenes of your brand, but they also want you to be branded well. So they want things to be clean. They still want things to be aesthetic. And I think the difference between like a personal creator and brand creation content, really there's somewhere, I feel like I'm sort of in the middle of that. And I am careful with what I share. It still needs to be aesthetically pleasing. What has happened in social media is actually things are no longer or don't need to be so curated. They don't need a 2-week long review process anymore, but they do. Social media is now I think it legitimizes your business. You have to have social content. You have to have it for people to buy from you, but also it's now it's entertainment versus like the value you're adding now is entertaining value versus like a content value add, which that shift has happened pretty much since COVID with the rise of video and things like that. Like whatever you're putting online, it has to have some sort of entertaining hook for it to be consumed. And then if it is something that the consumer can trust and then they create a love and appreciation for you, then that's where you're going to get the engagement. But it's less of a place to put your wins and a place to put like your digital scrapbook and more of how can I entertain my audience and get them to engage with me.
Okay, Megan, you were talking about creating that content and being real and raw, but also making it beautiful. I'm so curious about that because I've watched your content since before you and I even knew each other. And it's funny, it is real and raw. I've seen you in some very happy moments and very sad moments, but it's never too much.
Yeah.
How do you strike that balance? What does that look like?
Well, I think I know who my consumer is. Like, I think I know, and I use that word as a consumer. Like, I actually talk to like a lot of my followers, and I always have on the brand accounts and on my personal account, like creating that community. Like that sounds like so silly and it's a buzzword, but it is so important to me. So, but I know who's watching. I know I'm like very fond of blocking people. If I see like a rando guy start to follow me, I like shoo him right away. Like I am looking for the women and mothers who are in similar stages of life as I am, or people who are like either 2 steps behind or 2 steps ahead, that we can give each other something. And so I think through every professional lens I have ever had in every job, including the one that I'm in right now, I'm always thinking like, what does she need to see to make her feel less alone, to make her want to engage? And that frame of reference is also, do I want to see? In all of the moments that I have shared personally and professionally, I have always wished that somebody else had shared it before I had. So dealing with really scary kids stuff or like chronic illness or growing a business or bootstrapping or selling or starting a new corporate job. Like every woman needs one other woman to show her it's possible or show her as she got through the really crappy stuff. And I think that's sort of where I've landed. As far as branding goes, I think it's the same question that brands need to ask. Like, how are we going to serve our audience so that we create this trust and then they will purchase from us? So for me, my audience doesn't purchase anything from me, but they do then follow my brand accounts. They follow the business that I'm working for. Like it is a funnel to something else. So it is purposeful, but for brands, it's more like, what can we show them? What can we show our followers behind the scenes about creating products or showing our services or showing the team behind them to create that trust so that then they do become future customers?
It starts with audience. And that's so true across the board.
Yes.
In everything we do, I mean, with all of our clients, that is always, to take it out of social for a second and go into kind of the earned media space that we live in. It always starts with audience. What does your audience need or want to hear? What will offer them some sort of value?
Yeah.
And if you don't know that, then you're just kind of shooting stuff out to shoot stuff out.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a waste of time. And I think that's kind of the same with social media, where like I don't have 1 million followers, but what I do have is several thousand followers who like would go to bat for me, who I think really believe in me. That I have like one person who I think is a hate follower. She loves to question everything that I do. And I'm like, I don't know why I let her stick around, but even the following that I've created myself and that my brands created, it was that following is curated, it's purposeful. And I think brands need to think about that too. Like a brand, you can say that you're for everybody, but you're really not. I mean, in the marketing world, you're creating literal avatars of who you're trying to serve. And that definitely filters out down to social media. I'd rather have 10,000 people who are my actual target audience than 30,000 people, and 20 of those, they don't care. They're never going to buy from me. They're not my target. They're not my avatar. And I think social media has become such, since everybody needs to have it, it's become, let's amass this following that then we can monetize, or then we can say we have this big following, or we're getting this sort of reach. And what it ends up being, and I've seen this professionally, when you grow really fast or big and your audience is not your target audience, it's actually incredibly detrimental to your brand. So for us, for Wicked Good Mom Media, before I sold, like we were kind of culling our follower count all the time because we were a hyper-local brand and I didn't want people in other countries. I didn't want men. I was trying to serve women specifically. And so I think brands need to be a little bit careful with that too, really figuring out, just like earned media, like where are we going to put ourselves so that the right eyeballs get on our content.
Can I give you a little shout out too, in terms of, yes, audience, but also authenticity, Meg?
Yeah.
I think that the content that you are conveying, certainly on your personal brand, it definitely bleeds into your brand, but the bravery to be the first in that space and tell that story is going to recruit the audience that is your avatar. And I think that is such a big part of what you are doing, saying, I am here, I am leading the way in this conversation. And it gives other women who are going through the exact same thing to feel as though they want to engage and become a lifelong follower. So maybe my question is, how do brands take that cue when there are red tape layers internally, when there is not that kind of bravery? How can brands take a little note of that authenticity to drive that engaged following?
I'd love to give an example actually of like a way that a brand could do this really well. So I have a friend who works in marketing and comms for a up and coming toothpaste brand. And I actually purchased it now. I didn't until she told me about it. But they're like clean and family friendly toothpaste, because a lot of toothpaste have a lot of stuff in them that we don't even really know. So in order to grow there, they really had to be social first, and they are social first. They employed a lot of influencers, a lot of social first tactics that I thought were so interesting, because what's less sexy than toothpaste? It's just like not.
Hey, I worked on Crest 3D White for a long time. We were a beauty brand.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And like, but I think like, especially there's so many layers here. So you think like, okay, who's our target audience? Probably, honestly, mothers, who are reading a lot about health and who care about who have an income where they could support a more expensive toothpaste, which is something. So like all of these things. So you think about, you're creating that avatar, right? But since you're going to be social first, you have to be able to serve like a lot of different people. Otherwise you're going to get a bunch of hate about your $8 toothpaste. And so I think storytelling there is just so important. So like you have your preferred avatar, but then you have a person at pretty much every stage of life. And what would make them spend $8 on a tube of toothpaste? It's not actually $8, but it is more expensive than regular toothpaste. And so you think like, okay, you then like create subsets of, if an 18-year-old college student finds this social media post, how are they going to digest it? And you create posts that are then applicable to all of them. So I think it's just sort of like thinking and forecasting what the consumer's negative reaction could be and meeting them there before they get there. This toothpaste brand has done a really good job with that, and they've had a lot of success in really getting into a market that is so hard to get into. It's like the drink world, right? It's so hard to get in there.
It's cluttered. Yeah.
There's so much out, and there's a lot of noise, and it's also a space where a lot of people are talking about things. Like specifically in the last 6 months or so, there's been a lot of talk about fluoride. And like whatever you take from that, like, do you want to have it in your toothpaste or not? Like there are two camps there. You have to, as a toothpaste brand, you have to be responding to that. So I thought that was really interesting. But I think creating sort of answering the questions that you're going to get from your target audience, but also from the ripple effect outside of that target audience, I think is really important. And the people in the marketing world and honestly in the comms world who answer those questions before they're asked are the ones who do the best. Like every single time. They don't have to backtrack. They already answered the question.
You know what I find interesting in everything you're saying right now, and when you were talking about your personal channel and like, you know, what moms want because you are one, so many of these accounts are run by kids that are freshly out of college, right? So call them, you know, early to mid 20s. And in some instances, that's amazing because a lot of the brands, and I'm talking CPG space, right? Food and bev, CPG, all that. A lot of those brands are looking to attract customers around that age group. So in a lot of ways, those brands are going to be really successful because those younger, you know, freshly working people are more attuned to what people of the same age want. Then you look at some of the other more mature CPG brands that are targeting people around our age, right? Working moms, things like that. And there is sometimes a gap in those brands being able to create more real-time content. The curated content is probably spot on because it's gone through marketing layers and it leans into a campaign that exists. And we know that because Em and I have spent years doing that, right? Creating those pieces of curated content that do align to whatever campaign you're going for. But the real-time or the quick turn content that is being run by someone who's not your consumer can definitely miss the mark because those people just, even if you try, right, you're not in the same mindset. You're not looking for the same thing. It's never going to feel authentic.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I think in the marketing world, one thing that I think is we've been slow to catch up to is that social media marketing is not the same as your digital ad spend or your more traditional marketing spend. It is not the same. They're completely different. They have different KPIs. They really have to have different teams. One is much more, you know, traditional marketing is very data driven, like, and it should be because we know what works. We know how many CPMs you get. Like social media is much more storytelling and getting people to then go purchase or go to your like landing page or whatever it ends up being. I think one thing that's missed, I always say if I ever do a TED Talk, it will be in marketing to moms and why it's important, because I do not think that there is a brand that exists. Even the brands that are targeting the younger population, even teens, early 20s, there's not a brand that exists that shouldn't be marketing directly to mothers, because who is paying for this stuff? Like moms are like moms are giving the money. Moms are the ones who are like educating their kids about what to buy or pricing. Like moms are the ones who are, I mean, we're taking care of our kids. We're taking care of our aging parents. Like we are the ones, and we have been historically in all of modern time, the ones who are making the purchasing decisions. And so I strongly believe, I mean, I think you can have younger creators for brands, but I think you should have focus groups of women of a certain age to make sure that the content will land, because you might get eyeballs from the generation below us, but you won't necessarily get purchases from them.
I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'm so curious of your perspective with thinking about, you know, with Rosie's purchase habits, right? Or what she wants. Do you feel like there are any brands that she is attracted to that do market more toward you?
Well, I was just going to say, because, you know, you and Meg boiled up a really good point about social first and the KPIs around social media as entertainment, as engagement, as bringing you into the brand, maybe not to buy right now, but to sort of lull into a love story, if you will, to be quite kind of strange about it and a little bit honest. I mean, Rosie is very much skincare. She's building Pinterest boards right now. That's the only social she's allowed to interact with. But honestly, what comes to mind is dancing with her to the Cat's Eye Better in Denim video on TikTok. I don't know if you gals, you're nodding your heads. It was to Khalees's milkshake. We can argue all day if that's appropriate or not, especially for a 12-year-old. I don't think she was tracking, but to sit there and learn these hand motions and be a little cat's eye for a second was just fun to do together. And she nailed it. I did not, but you know, I'm thinking Gap, you're back. I love that. And it's nostalgia too. It happens to be a nostalgic brand for us. So yeah, it is. I think job well done in an ad like that, because it was entertaining and the message was simple. And it was a message Gap has carried for decades. Did anyone else learn it?
I consumed it. I did not learn it.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
but I went out at the age of
I thought it was cute too. Oh gosh.
We haven't gotten to this, and this could be a whole other episode, so I don't want to go too far down the line, but one of the trends that I have loved seeing in the last probably 2 years is brands finally catching on to using content creators to drive product innovation.
Oh
Because that has been something bubbling up, but it hadn't really come to fruition. I don't feel like until the last couple of years where you're seeing these mega brands finally say, oh, wait, like these people drive purchase because they have such an invested and an engaged audience, and I should be tag teaming with them. So I feel like that is something that's really interesting. And I'm so curious about your perspective, Meg, whether you have a favorite campaign that you've seen or just in general your perspective, because you do live in that influencer world.
I'm going to backtrack and give an example. I think that worked very, very well. So Poppy, recently acquired by Pepsi. Allison is like goals, right? She is a very, very smart person and made smart decisions alongside her partner, who is also her husband. And then they had Shark Tank investment. And it's just like this, it's like a fairy tale story, right? Especially for a CPG and a drink brand, huge. Earlier on in Poppy, they had investment by Alex Earl, who is a very, very popular influencer and a younger influencer, so younger than us. And I think instead of doing like a traditional brand deal for a larger influencer, you'll have to fact check me on this. I'm pretty sure she actually bought in. So she invested. And so that kind of transformed her engagement with Poppy.
Yeah.
So she was organically on her socials, drinking Poppy, talking about it because she had a vested interest that was beyond a brand deal. And it also created a level of trust with her audience there are a lot of beverages in that sort of same space, but it legitimized them in a way that you really can't replicate. And I think that's a little bit different than creating content or getting feedback from the influencer space for brands, but it was incredibly smart for both of them, honestly, because then Alex, I'm sure, got part of the Poppy Pepsi deal, which is great. Like, good for her, smart. But I think when brands just employ an influencer or employ user generated content, they kind of miss the mark. Like, because especially a larger brand, there is so much still red tape on what you can and can't say, and whether there's non-competes in place and stuff. And that kind of, the consumer feels that. Like, they always feel that. Like, I have said no, and I know people in my space, like I'm like micro, but people in my space who are a lot bigger who have said no to major brands because of all that is included to be able to protect their brand.
And we've been on the other side of those.
Yeah,
like, we've
and
written
you
those
get
contracts.
it. Like,
come
I
up with
understand.
those things. It's tough because the brands, especially the big ones, they need to operate in that way, right? You can't run the risk of employing an influencer and then having them, do a campaign for your direct competitor within the same week. That's not a risk brands are willing to take, and I don't blame them. But I agree, it can come off as very robotic and inauthentic.
Yes, I think there are ways to kind of get around it. And I worked with like a very large hotel chain, and they had a lot of red tape, which I got. But I kept saying to them, what you want is my organic content. You want me to speak directly to moms about my actual experience, because that's when they buy. We know it. We see the numbers. We know it. So I can only sign this if I can have creative license so that my community continues to trust me. And I think as creators and influencers sort of push back on that, then brands, there are ways to kind of get around it. Like, I'll sign a 2-week non-compete. That's fine. I'm not going to sign a 6-month one. I won't disparage the brand. Like, there are things like, if something is dirty, I'm not going to say it on my social. But I actually think, to kind of backtrack on that, I think brands can work with creators and influencers who are already doing that anyway. Like, I am not a person, like, if I go to a restaurant and have a terrible meal, I will not post about that on social media, because who knows what happened with that business that night. Like, I'm not going to, but that's my personal like manifesto, like behind the scenes. And so brands should be looking for creators that are like that anyway. And actually the feedback that they'll get and the content that they'll get out of it is so worth them taking extra time to look through the red lines. It really, really does matter, because you are getting a trusted audience, an audience that trusts, that is invaluable. Like, you can't even put a price on it. And then talking about the creators or the influencers sort of informing the brands to say like, hey, my people actually really want to see this, and allowing the creator or the influencer or the platform to help inform the campaign, I think is so, so huge. Like, I know my followers need to see, if I'm going to a hotel, for example, how miserable the sleep situation is going to be. Like, moms are all wondering, how terrible is this going to be for me? This one room with my 5 family members, like, can I actually make this work? And if I can show that asking the right questions at the hotel, preparing yourself ahead of time, bringing this one inflatable mattress that fits perfectly in this little alcove, like, I can all but guarantee somebody in my orbit is going to book, because I've answered the questions the mom has. So it goes back to that, like thinking about what the audience needs and then allowing the creator to kind of give feedback on that.
Talk to us, Meg, a little more about that sphere of influence. You have a really great methodology, thought process around everyone has one. Every single human, every single mom, especially when you think about jumping the group text for brands, that's when it's big. Talk to us about that theory and how it works for you.
This is a hill that I will die on. I believe, and I've actually said this to Jenna, like, every person, if you have any sort of platform, you have a platform. So like, I have influence in my neighborhood group on Facebook that I created, because like, if I tell them something awesome just popped up near our neighborhood, guess what? Everybody's going to go. And so I think there are a few things here. There is a responsibility that you have as a person online. So if you are going to share anything online, I think, and I will teach my children this when someday they are online too. And I teach them now, like, why I show things and some things and why I don't show other things. I have a responsibility because the people who are consuming your content, they are impressionable. They're watching you for a reason. And so in all of the brand work that I've done online, both with my business, with my personal platform, and honestly with my new job, is something I'm always thinking about, is being careful with what we share, because the people who are consuming it matters to them and it could inform a decision for them. But I think the point I want to drive home with this is that a person with 500 social media followers actually might have more influence than a person with 10,000. Because the person with 500 social media followers, it's highly likely that those people actually they know you. They're in some sphere of where you operate in the actual real world. Whereas the person with, I'll say 100,000 social media followers, the people who follow that person, it might have just been like an accidental follow. They're probably not engaging, and they're probably looking at that account for more aspirational reasons.
Yeah.
Versus, or like, I want to be that person has this like fancy shiny life, or is doing something so huge, and it's their inspiration to me. Versus the 500, I care about that person. Like, I care about where, like, the car dealership experience she had. It's so much different because that's my car dealership too. And I think brands need to think pretty critically about that when they're engaging social media like creators or influencers. I can tell you for a fact that my micro influence on my personal platform, my engagement rate is more than 500% higher than the engagement rate I saw when I was the voice on Boston Moms.
But it's so true. The numbers speak for themselves. The engagement rate for those micro influencers can never be matched.
Yeah. So it's so funny. The mega influencers, this actually is like, cracks me up. When a brand works with them, it's almost like something they can add to their brand resume. It's almost like being the official mayonnaise of Fenway Park. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we are the official mayonnaise of this mega influencer who honestly is a celebrity in their own right. So the influencer space has changed. It's like a celebrity endorsement versus an engagement tool.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think on our side of the house, the question that we always ask clients is this an engagement play or an awareness play?
Yep.
That's kind of second to the audience. That is the question to ask. When you work with an influencer like that, you hit the nail on the head. It is an awareness play for sure. And it is oftentimes something where you can create more earned media conversation around it because they carry the name. If you're looking to make direct sales and be able to draw those KPIs together, that's not the way to go.
Yep.
Then you should be looking at those micro influencers and driving that conversion right away. And I mean, it's so apparent in the numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's hard. People get tripped up because they think like, oh, well, my possible impressions are going to be in the millions versus in the thousands. Like, how could that possibly not be more advantageous to me? But it is, I think this will always be an issue, but I think as people who have kind of grown up in the social media space, like for me, it's like really easy to explain because I've been doing this for so long. It's harder for me to explain to a man who like has, oftentimes it's a guy, but who's sitting in a leadership seat who's never been online, they just don't understand. So I think as we continue to rise and like people who have been in this digital age then step into leadership roles, like, things will continually evolve. They'll never be able to have like all of the knowledge, but I think it will get a little easier to inform because it will be us who have lived in that digital age.
Yeah. All right, Meg, I am aware of the time limit that we have with you. I feel like we could continue this conversation.
I have one more fun one for Meg.
Okay. I will let Em go for the fun one before we ask our closing question.
Okay, yes. So Meg, and it relates to sphere of influence, but you Spark as a connector. All of us have this in our lives. These women, typically women, that unlock opportunities, networking, other good friendships. That is you. You do it in real life. You do it online. Is there a zany or funny or fantastical connection you've made in real life or online that is just a fun story to share?
Oh my God, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to think about that. I do feel like I might have like an actual 2 degrees of separation from like the majority of the women in Massachusetts.
You're like the Kevin Bacon of Massachusetts.
Jenna has heard me say this. I feel like I have a Rolodex, and I literally, I just
they're like, do you know so and so, so and so, so and so? I'm like, no.
I am a collector of people. I really am, and I love to listen to people's stories. So like, I don't know if I have like a funny or zany connection kind of thing, but I do.
I thought you would say me. God.
Well, you are one.
I thought you would say me.
But I like handpick people. So I really do. Like I feed very much, like I'm not like woo, but I feed off of people's energy. And I know right away, like if we're going to jive. And I also in real life and online, like I don't really want you around me if you dim my sparkle. Like if I have to put on a face to be with you, like it's just not worth my energy. I protect my energy. I always say I'm an introverted extrovert where like I want to, like I can give, and then I need to charge my batteries. And so if you drain my batteries, I don't want anything to do with you. I will share a funny story that I actually haven't said this out loud to anybody yet. In my new role, like it's the culmination of all of the things that I love. It's connecting and supporting women who are growing their own businesses. It's creating really interesting marketing campaigns and thinking really critically about what women who are founders at all stages need to see. And I'm joining a business that's already established. The co-founders have been at this for a while. And so it's like a really cool time to join. And because of that, they have lots of connections in the business world that like of women that are on my like top 10 list of women to meet. Okay. So one of our co-founders is hosting an event this week at South by Southwest. And the guest is Jen Hatmaker, who I think like hung the moon. She's an author. She is somebody who's very outspoken about like things she believes in. I think she's amazing. And she has been on my top 10 list of women to meet for years. And so I said in a meeting this week with the co-founders and my bosses, can you let me know what Jen Hatmaker smells like? Like I said it. And then like my soul left my body because I was like, no, that's such a weird thing to say, but
it's so on brand for you to say though. It's so on brand.
And I thought to myself afterwards, I'm like down in my seat after I say that because they were like, why? Because she definitely is a person who smells good. Like she just has this like aura. She 100% wears perfume that's like, you walk in a room, you're like, somebody smells good in here. That's Jen Hatmaker. I know it.
Oh my God.
That is how I think about people. I'm like, I bet that woman smells good. I thought, I crawled out of my skin for a minute because I said this in a professional meeting with people who are still getting to know me about a woman who is on my list of top 10 people to meet. And then afterwards, I was like, had to digest that for a minute. And I was like, that was super weird. But also it's probably a good thing that I just said that because that's who I am.
It's so authentic. It's so authentic.
And that's how I make connections. So like, and I probably awkwardly would say that to Jen Hatmaker. And so they should never put me in a room with her unless that's okay with them. So yes, I think, but that's a good example of like this, like
Hmm.
Jenna has had this experience with me many times. Like, I think authentic connection requires authenticity. Like, there are,
It requires vulnerability.
yeah. And it has never steered me wrong. And I feel really lucky. I feel like I have had an opportunity to kind of pick and choose what I do because the people who hire me, the people who come into my life, they really get what they see.
I love
So
I get the whole thing.
they do. Yeah, they really do.
Gosh, I love that so much. There could not be a story that felt more you. I love that so much.
You heard it here first. This is breaking news. I didn't even tell Rob that.
Don't you worry. We will be sharing that.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Meg, our final question we ask everyone. What's your impact for this week? One special thing?
So I want to like backtrack just for a second because I think this is what makes me love the work that you do so much. And I've had like a front row seat to see you create this business and work with clients and really think about how you can, everything that I've done in my professional life has been mission based because it's like really easy to show up when you really believe in the work that you're doing. And I think that you guys are doing this. So bravo. I think that any branded business would be so lucky to have you in their corner. I love this question because I think it's one that we should all frame for our just everyday lives and one we should be talking to our kids about. My impact this week, I have a small nonprofit that I run. It's called Caroline's Closet.
We love it.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And we are getting donations to prepare to actually create 7 different Caroline's Closets in local NICUs for preemie and babies with like high medical needs. And behind me is my Hulken. Shout out to Hulken,
Yes.
a great brand. And I have filled this weekly for the last couple of weeks. And so I'm almost halfway to our goal for the number of outfits that we need to be able to fill these 7 closets. And if we hit our goal, I mean, we will be impacting, I think I estimated like between 7,000 and 8,000 families this year, which is a lot of people.
That's insane. I
So,
love that.
Yeah, that feels really good. And I've actually kept this. I keep it in my office and I have a ton of mail that comes in and it's like becomes like visual clutter for me. But then I look at it and I think, I have my professional role, I'm a mom, and I have this thing that's like I call my heart work, and that's my impact.
I love that. And I know we don't have time to go into all of it on Caroline's Closet, but we'll do a post on social to talk a little bit more about how wonderful the organization is and what you've started and kind of the genesis of it, so that others can support it as well.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Meg. It was great to have you. Always fun to see you. Always full of funny stories.
Thank you so much for having me. This was the highlight of my day.
I love it.
I need to see a new perfume purchased by you once you know
Yeah.
what your maker wears. And I'd really like you to fly to Austin. So
Yeah, I know.
I know.
This is my in, guys. Like if I, I'm now 2 degrees of separation from Jen Hatmaker. Look it.
There
And
you
you're
go.
the Kevin Bacon of mass. That's my other takeaway.
All right. Thanks, Meg.
Thank you, Mike.